Donna Thomson began her career as an actor, director, and teacher. But in 1988, when her son Nicholas was born with severe disabilities, Donna embarked on her second career as a disability activist, author, and consultant. Donna has achieved international recognition as a caregiving consultant and advocate, working with Tyze Personal Networks, the Plan Institute for Caring Citizenship, and the Advocacy School here in Ottawa, Canada, just to name a few. Donna is also the author of this fabulous book, The Four Walls of My Freedom, which is soon to come out in paperback, and blogs regularly at donnathomson.com. So Donna, I'm so delighted you could be here with me today.
Thank you so much.
So today I want to talk a little bit about a blog post that you wrote that really caught my eye. It's called I'm a Professional Caregiver and You're Not. Mm-hmm. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about the tension that sometimes occurs between professional caregivers and their families.
Well, I think in the care, in the giving and receiving of care, there is power. There are power politics sometimes that play out, and sometimes there is an even distribution of power between the caregiver and the care receiver, because there's a sort of a balance of humility and ego and competence and friendliness, and all of that's in balance, and that's a good care relationship. But sometimes, it can go wrong. And there can be, I think every caregiver watching will know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That when a new caregiver comes in and you know it's not going to work because that caregiver begins in your home to tell you that something's in the wrong place, or that you're doing something wrong, or that's not the way we do it in the hospital, or something like that. I can tell you a little story. When Nicholas was living at home and we were giving him family care, I was looking after him all the time, and his needs are very, very high. We ran a home hospital.
Okay.
But we had this one fellow come in, a nurse, and he came in a uniform, and I said, we don't like uniforms, so did your agency not tell you not to wear a uniform? And he said, yeah, but I usually wear my uniform. And I said, well, this is a home, and we don't like uniforms, so if you wouldn't mind, please don't wear your uniform the next time, because this is my son's real life, his home, his bedroom, this is where he lives, and he doesn't like uniforms, because he's been in the hospital too many times, and he doesn't like it. So the man came back with a uniform again, and he kept calling me Mom, which is what the hospital staff calls you in a children's hospital because they can't necessarily remember your name. So it's Mom, do you mind doing this? Mom, what time did you feed your baby? Mom this, Mom that.
Right.
And I said, my name is Donna. Please feel free to call me Donna. Okay, Mom. And it was very much a hospital vernacular that he was using, and I really didn't like it, and I told him that. I told him, please don't call me that. Call me Donna. And I said, I really mean it. And he insisted on calling me Donna and calling me Mom and wearing his uniform. And I thought, this is not the right balance of the way that home care should work. Mm-hmm. Paid caregiving's one thing in the ICU. You don't want those kinds of relationships. You want an imbalance of power in the ICU. You simply want to be receiving care no matter what. You don't want to discuss it. But in a home, in long-term care, in elder care, in disability care, whatever it may be, in the community, you definitely want a power balance where no one person is ruling over the other person and saying, you did that wrong, you're not allowed to do that here. And I think sometimes paid caregivers in their training, if they're not very, very confident people to begin with, they're fearful of a strong personality. They're fearful of community care, period. They're much more confident with where they can depend on policies and procedures as a kind of architecture for how they carry out their care. But where things are more fluid and more human and more friendly, some people are really afraid of that. And that's what I was trying to get at in that blog post. And I think that kind of an attitude and that kind of an imbalance of power is very common in home care, and it's a recipe for bad care.
Okay. So if you are facing that, or what kind of tips would you give to people that they could work through that tension or find a way around it or hire the right caregiver in the first place? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I think the language to use is that the language that service providers and agency case managers understand is you can say, I'm not sure if this is a good fit.
Okay.
If so-and-so is a good fit with my mother or my son or my family. Do you have someone who feels very comfortable in community care? Or you could say, do you have someone who has a background in palliative care?
Okay.
Because palliative care, by its very nature, is deeply human, is deeply collaborative, is not afraid of friendship, is not afraid of closeness, of sharing emotion. It's not clinical.
Right, and that's what you really want in a home care situation.
In a home care situation. Right. You want someone who is going to be nice to your other children. If you've got other children, you want them to be fluid, flexible,
Yes.
flexible, and cheerful. And I think the real ability to work as a true team.
Okay. Great. So one of the tools I know that you're very familiar with is the Tyze Personal Network. And we've talked before about how that's really helped you manage care for both Nicholas and for your mom. And I thought maybe it would be interesting to our audience to hear a little bit more about that.
Yes. Well, Tyze Personal Networks truly transformed our caregiving burden.
Okay.
It made it... It really reduced our caregiving burden in our family. It is a transformative tool. What Tyze is a highly private online website that you go to and you have to log in with a password. It's sort of almost like banking online. Right. And there are members of a support network, all of whom can have a conversation about the care of a vulnerable individual that they all support. So we have a Tyze network for my son Nicholas that consists of the people at the care home where he now lives, so his daytime staff, his night nurses, the administrators in the home, my sister, my daughter, my husband, 2 lifelong friends of Nicholas's, and our GP, our doctor.
Okay. And so you haven't found any trouble the professional caregivers getting involved in the network? No. At first, it was hard to get them to go there because we would post a message. For example, Nicholas's medication, his morphine dose has changed. So we're looking out for side effects, or you just need to know to give the new dose. So we would communicate that message. We'd write it in the bedside chart. It would still not get through. Okay.
Because if people only work 1 shift a week, they assume nothing has changed.
Right.
When they walk in the room. And they sign for having given the medication without looking to see that there's a new dose. So we were having a great deal of difficulty communicating with so many different providers, staff, family. When Nicholas went in the hospital, everybody needed to know everything at once.
Right.
And there's one conversation in a private room where everyone can talk together. So it was difficult to get people on board at first because they have their own professional systems of communication.
Right.
But their professional communication, I can't get in.
Right, yes.
And so it's bridging that gap between paid care, medical staff, and family, who are actually a key part. Everybody's involved in supporting the same person.
Right. So
but they don't talk to each other normally.
So in a way, it's helping you create a team.
Yes, it is a team. It's very much about the team. And it's very much about realizing that in a person's life, there may be an upcoming outpatient procedure, and you'll want to talk about that, but you'll want to talk about tickets to a concert that he has coming up that he's very excited about, that he wants to talk about with all of his staff because this is something that's very important to him, but he doesn't have the speech to express it. So if someone can't talk about what they're excited about, they kind of might want to go to sleep.
Right. So this is a way of keeping them engaged.
Yes.
With all of their team.
Yes, in both the medical support, the clinical stuff, but also the important personal stuff, all in one place. And the doctor can log on at any time and see, how is Nicholas doing? How's he doing with his new seizure med? Well, you know, he can look at the night charts that are scanned and put into the Tyze network every day, and he can log on and see, oh, it's working. He didn't have any, you know, he only had 2 seizures last night, or he didn't have any. So we took a photograph, well, one of the staff took a photograph of a skin lesion that Nicholas had that we weren't sure what it was, took a photograph with his iPhone and sent it to the doctor on Tyze in a private message, highly secure. The doctor sent a prescription, and all the staff got it immediately in an email on their phone. So they don't have to, we don't need to depend on them to look in the right paper in the right place to know that there's a procedure to be done. They get it on their phone, as all the young kids do. Oh, okay, Nicholas.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So that's a great way of building team and helping everything work together as a...
Yes, and I think it's also really important that when people say, what can I do to help? Tyze has a list of claim this task. Nicholas needs a ride to a movie next Thursday, and his staff or his family or his friend will sign up to claim that task. So it makes it easy to do the right thing. It makes it easy to do what we want to do for someone we love.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for being here with
Thank
me
you.
today, and we're going to be hearing more from Donna in the future, so come back and watch for her again. Thank you very much.